Today's project is rendering birch oil. Now to do the project, it's very simple. You're gonna have to go out and collect some type of birch bark. In our case here, the location I'm in, we have a lot of yellow birch, so that's what we're gonna be using. Paper birch would work good also. On top of the birch bark, what else you're going to need is 2 different containers. So you're gonna need a large container that has a lid and a small container. No lid necessary on this one. You wanna pack your birch bark inside your large container so it is very full. I mean, that's pretty jam-packed. And then I'm gonna press the lid on tightly. On the lid of the large container, you're going to want to punch a hole dead center, and the reason for that is as we cook this bark, the oil is going to render out of that hole, and that's where the second container comes into play. That second container, look at it as your catch container. So this top container goes over that. As it cooks down and renders out, you're going to collect your oil in this. So right now you can see that I dug a small hole in a fire pit. I'm going to take that small container and set it down here, and then I'm going to take my top container and turn it over. Ideally, we want about 3/4 of this top container sticking out of the ground. So I already loaded up my top container with birch bark. My hole's punched in it. I'm going to place it over that lower container. Now I'm just going to backfill this in. Make sure that you don't move this top container off of that bottom container, because we don't want to get any dirt in that catch container. We want that to be nice and pure when we get that oil extracted. Now what we have is the top container, again, about 3/4 of the way out of the ground. Our small catch containers down inside. I'm gonna now build a fire over this and allow this ample time to cook. So at this point, we are really cooking away. You can see how big and hot this fire actually is. It is not going to hurt the birch bark at all. It's actually a good thing to get it good and hot like this. So I'm letting this cook. I'm about an hour and a half into this process. I'll probably let this cook 2 to 3 hours. So we're just gonna let that keep cooking, let the fire die down, and then we'll check what we got. So you can see I'm just cleaning all this out now. I know I'm down below the base, so what I'm gonna do is make sure the wind's not blowing. Again, we don't want anything in that oil that we don't have to have in there. And you don't have to be this picky. I am, but you don't have to be. I just really like this stuff, so I like it to be nice and clean. We pull it away, and then I'll take my pliers and pull that oil right out. And you can see we yield a nice amount of oil. Now our birch oil is rendered, so I can dip my finger and you can see how dark that stuff is. But that stuff works absolutely great to put on your axes. It gives them a nice sheen and a nice protection to them. Just work that in your wood just like that. Metal, if you're worried about your metal rusting, this works really well for that too. You can also take a little bit of this, work it on your sheath, work it into the leather. Great leather protectant. So there's a lot of different stuff I've used this over the years for. This is like liquid gold around camp. So this is like my little secret batch now. So all my instructors, this is gonna be hidden. You're not finding this stuff. So this will last you a super long time. That little bit I dipped on my finger is more than enough to do a small hatchet like this, and then another little dip, you know, for your sheath. So you don't need a lot of this to go far away. Put it in a bottle and it will hold very, very well. So now inside this container, you can see it is just cooked down to basically this ash-like substance, okay? There's nothing left. It's just crumbly. It sounds like glass breaking apart. There's nothing left to it. This is not a charcoal at this point. There's just nothing. It rendered down. It won't take a spark. It doesn't do anything except just lay around. So you just discard that and chalk it up that you got some good birch oil. So this was Dan Wowack with Coalcracker Bushcraft. Hopefully you'll give this a shot if you have birch in your area. I guarantee that once you make it and start putting it on your tools, you're going to love it. So as always, check us out at coalcrackerbushcraft.com, and until the next video, stay in the woods.